Okay, now as we move to a rain, we have additional costs for crossing rivers, and there's a major penalty for artillery fire and firearms and such on. I'm left with some interesting choices. Next turn, Kelowna will be recovered. The French army will not be recovered unless I drop out of maneuver and into garrison. Stand, actually. Because I'm not allowed to move, and I won't be able to run by. The question is whether or not I want to move the Swiss to try to screen things with a siege of Milan. If I siege Milan, that's going to make it a lot harder for Kelowna to get out of there, but not impossible. He can leave a garrison behind and move through. So I don't think that's really my answer. I feel, though, like I have to get the Swiss into position to help defend against the French. The truth of the matter is, though, Kelowna still has most of his force, even though he lost that battle. And the French army is destroyed. It's gone. It's down to 4, 10, and 1 gun. I'm pretty much out of it. I've got Giovanni coming in this turn. I don't know quite where. I've got to figure that out before I... let's see what hex he's going to come in. He's not supposed to be placed yet, but... excuse me. He'll appear with the Captain General. Well, that's cool. That makes life easy. And I guess he becomes a part of this force. And his troops have to be assigned with him. So I can drop people like Montmorency out of the command. Do I want to give Navarro more troops? You know, honestly, Navarro's gun I'm considering to be kind of unimportant. I don't have to assign it in this way, but this will work. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll just maneuver my Swiss into a position where they're kind of protecting the French army a little bit. Maybe actually move them up to join it so that I don't have a crappy combination of armies. Then the question there becomes, hey, do I really want to drop him into garrison if I am able to combine them? But I'm probably not going to be able to combine them. So I'm going to pay, probably doesn't cost anything, I'm sorry, stand. Changing to stand doesn't cost me anything. That'll allow me to recover my army. It's not optimal, but it's the best I think I have. And I think otherwise everybody's kind of set, because I'm good with what the Venetians are doing. I'm good with what the Swiss are doing. And the Imperials, well, here's why Kelowna is not going to be able to attack. Kelowna can't attack because he doesn't have any AP left. So he's not really a threat. Fair enough. However, he could try to force an attack. Now, he has to recover, and then that could screw up his troops all over again. But he does have an opportunity to try to attack without command points. So let's get started on this one, and I'll get to swap out a battery again. Okay, there we go. So the French have been using the Swiss with their high initiative rating, high in a world where almost everybody's got 0 because they're on garrison or stand, to try to activate. And the Imperials have failed twice. A third time they fail with Kelowna to try to, get a bonus roll on a 0 table, on a 0 mod. But they're just hoping to force the Swiss to move at a disadvantage here. Now, of course, this may mean the Swiss can't force march, which they may want to do. if they're not careful. Colonna is interesting though, because I'm going to take a recovery with Colonna. Now, recovery is not automatic. I thought it was, at least for a moment. Recovery involves using the discipline table. And my modifiers are, if the Primo Capitani, which is Colonna himself, has a bonus star. If I wanted to pay 2 action points, I don't have 2 action points, I only have 1. And if I spent any movement points. And otherwise, I just get to roll a die on here and see what happens. It only affects the unrecovered units. I get a 3, which looks like it's F's, which is going to hurt them. No, there's no bad, except for the D star. The D star could be bad. So 2s and 3s are going to pass though and recover. And let's see. Well, I'm sorry, not 2s and 3s. N's and R's. This is based on quality. These are sensitive, but the Vastos stuff is all normal. So now I've got a force. I could detach, rearrange forces here. I don't believe there's a requirement that Devasto has to remain in command of the Spaniards. Well, of these particular units. These aren't all Spaniards. These are, these I think are, these guys I don't remember what they are. Oh, those are regular Imperials. Okay. So, yeah, these are Italians up here. So I could swap forces around so that I leave a garrison of demoralized stuff. Of course, that's just asking for Milan to fall. If a siege is accomplished and any attack is done, they're pretty much going to fall in that case. So I would want to leave a point, at least 1 unit that's got some successful ability to withstand a fighting situation. So that's what we got there, and that was their first and really only activation, because with a garrison you don't get a second activation. And now I only have 1 remaining Imperial force to worry about on the die roll situation. And it's the best of the bunch, but there you go. Had the Swiss been able to march quickly down here, they could have prevented that, the recovery, and faced really just this unit in the siege, which might have been worthwhile. This is a very sensitive unit. Not that that matters too much, but it's got a 2 quality. We would probably have had a good chance of storming Milan and taking everything. We weren't bold enough. Oops. Imperials actually got an activation over here with Visconti, and rather than force the Swiss to move with too few points, they took it. It's their last activation if they want. They could have force marched. But Visconti has a fairly small force, and he's basically just clearing up these back area victory centers at this point. Now, he can't really face the Venetians, which is the problem. He doesn't have a very big force. So I don't know how good a job he's going to do in that role. I may have to dispatch something else, maybe even Colonna's whole force. This is the problem. The French as a whole, well, at this point they're weaker, but the pro-French side probably had a few more forces, but they're kind of in the losing position and have some hard tasks to do, like get down here to get a few reinforcement points, which may not be that important if I had been able to wipe out Colonna as a force. Of course, you can always retreat from a sieged fortress if you're not going through zones of control without too much trouble at all. You don't have to face a retreat. Anyway, the net effect of this, though, is now the Imperials can pass with the rest of their actions, because I don't want to force march with him. Which means, well, I got to move Trevols across the river. Von Stein is getting closer to the French, blocking the road, making it very difficult for an easy attack on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And who else? And then we have the French recovery, which we get to check. Now, unfortunately, I do not have my star on Bayard, which means we get to try to recover. And unfortunately, also, well, we have so few troops. We have one sensitive troop, and it's under Bayard, but I could spend to give him extra wages. I probably shouldn't have gotten out of that maneuver order because I'm going to have to spend to get out of that. But I really felt like I needed an actual French army. So I get a +1. Because of that, I roll a 7. Oh, no, I get a -1 for the extra wages. I roll a 5, which is a D. A D is still okay. And that looks like it's it for the turn. I don't think anybody's in any terrible location where they have to check for any kind of attrition. So we keep pushing forward. I've seen something kind of weird here where Colonna was able to make an attack and then get rid of his attack order. And that's a pretty easy thing to do. If I was sieging someone, I could siege them for 3 turns and then discard my attack order and go to, I don't know, a stand order or whatever. I won't be besieging them in terms of I won't be able to roll on the table, but I will be able to avoid, and this is goofy, the previous attack marker that I would have had. The only time that seems to be triggered is if you're sitting on an attack order on the yellow turn, at the beginning of the yellow turn. Again, something's not quite working here. There's some cool ideas at play, but I don't feel like the game's been fleshed out enough to create, you know, I feel like there's a gamey solution there that I can't explain. Okay, now with fair weather, we have a couple interesting things happening. First of all, the French buy themselves back up to maneuver. Trivulli has to buy his way to maneuver because he's got to counteract Visconti here. Just about to change where I have to pay anyway, but I really can't give up another turn's movement. There's just, this is all there is, right? Is these 2 hexes, and then the French lose if those 2 hexes go over. Because I believe all of this is pro-imperial. And this too. It's within M, which is aligned with the Imperials. So, let's see. The next question is, do I want Colonna to be active here? Or do I want to sit around and keep, do I want to split off forces, an active force, to try to handle the French? The problem is I can't reach the French. I can't reach von Stein easily, or I can't handle von Stein, I don't think. I don't have a very big force here that's available for the fight, and I'd be risking Milan itself, which, although it doesn't matter for victory points, is important for controlling the east-west branching. There's only one real set of paths running down here of any kind. So I think I'm going to hold off and we'll go to the activations. I don't think we'll see too much excitement here. Interplay of the activations, Trivul's and Visconti have both moved to the locations they wanted to be at. The Swiss couldn't go into admin march because there's no roads cutting the way they want, so they're just doing a normal march. They could try for a forced march, but they didn't because, first of all, they're only in maneuver. They could get to here, but they couldn't actually reach it. 1, 2, that puts me down to 4. Make it 3 for admin march. 2, 1, 0. I could get down to about here, but what I couldn't do is take this, and this is the block of the path to here. You know, if I move the supply source to here, I have supply up in the north, which I think means the French are going to spend their movement point to get back up here, to get up to the north. Because I don't think making my way through here is going to be easy. Okay, I went for the recovery, it didn't work. And then here's the thing. I think the recovery went before the French move. The French move was the last thing I did. I got 1 hex because I got a bad roll against, I don't know, the Leva or whatever. And now all the pro-French units have moved. So if the Imperials pass, the pro-French don't get a chance to force march. We're willing to do that. The only thing we're expending is the chance to, well, to fortify this a little further than it is. That's Corniello. He only has 4 strength points, so they're all going to be doubled if he stands inside the city anyway. So he doesn't need extra earthworks outside. And that makes that the end of the round, because the French can't try for a force march. So we push on, and it is going to be a specialty point gain turn, and the French don't get any points. I can move this though, but that's not going to help me because it's the French army that needs to be in connection. So owning this town, no, it doesn't really matter, because I've decided empty towns are not forces. You know, I didn't think empty cities were, right? The fortresses. They're not defined as such anywhere, but they seem to be blocking terrain to the lines of communication in this scenario. In which case, well, do we know that? Wait a minute. Because otherwise, yeah, it almost, oh no, there's a city here. Yeah. There are hubs everywhere. This isn't owned. Let me look at who owns what. I think this is going to be owned by the Imperials. Yeah, this is M. M is Milan. That's going to be owned by the Imperials. So, yeah, this city is sufficient to block a path through down here and up. You know, I mean, there was the possibility of some circuitous route. Well, if that worked, this would work, right? Well, no, because this has to go through here, but it doesn't. It could come down here. Come, wait. This is the city blocking. Okay, so there is no way through. I just have to make sure, because otherwise towns become forces as well, and that becomes a much harder job, because then I have to clear the entirety of the road rather than, you know, worry about just getting a couple of key fortresses or whatever out of the way. So yeah, I'm not sure which direction I wanted to go with those French. This is on the road, so it's more dangerous. I'm gonna stay with what I. Yeah, this is on the road too, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's gonna be harder to get to. So that's what we're gonna go with. Okay, and as noted, I remove all the orders markers. Nobody had an attack order, so nobody gets a previous attack, which is great for Colonna, because he can throw himself into attack again and maybe cut off the French here. He's got to worry about Milan, though. He doesn't want to lose it. Because Milan does open up this route completely. Getting the French through the north would open that up too. Jeez, I should have moved this way. I'm such an idiot. Okay. So we have to worry about the generation of points. Let's take a look. Let's do, the French don't have a connection. That's their problem. Beyond them, we go to the Venetians, who will get 2 points. And 2 points. And the French really want to make their way down here. Who owns A? A is not aligned, which means this is the, I think this is the Genoa connection though. Yeah, no, that works, right? Because I can run to here. Or here. So if I could slip behind this fortress, even if I don't take it, I'm in good shape for getting the reinforcements, etc. But I got to get the French beyond Milan, and that's going to be the tough part, because the northern route I can connect up to about here, and then this, and I got all kind of roads that can get me troops if I can get that line of communication going for here. Okay, so we worry about the Venetians though, and they're really close, which puts them on the 1 to 12. So they get their full 2 points back. The Imperials are not so close. I got to get to here, and I think maybe the French should have cut them off, or someone should have. The Venetians could have cut them off, I believe. Well, no, because there's the Brescia route coming down here. But Bergamo here is, I think, the path that I need to follow. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 43, and as a matter of fact, Monza would cut them off too. I was stupid for not seeing that. Which puts me over here. But with a 3, we're not going to get any additional points, which means Colonna is going to have to kind of force his force if he wants to do anything with it. And that's kind of problematic, there's no question there. I really like this part of the system. The, hey, you sure you want to do that? Alright, and then well, we can throw things into orders as well. And we're going to have to pay for everybody's orders. And that's going to get kind of expensive as we start to run here. There is a line of command to von Stein, I think. Because I can... not to there. I got to look. Because he may not be able to get orders without forcing. And his troops are very sensitive, if I recall. That's specified in the thing, which means maybe I need to keep my Swiss hanging around near something. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go to a retreat order, which is not what I want at all. So there is no problem for the Swiss. It is as I had kind of assumed, and dangerously so. As long as I can trace a line, I don't have to count path like I do with the line of communication. The line of command is different. So I'm going to be able to buy an activity with von Stein. I don't want to siege Milan as long as Colonna is there. I know he doesn't have points. He'll probably fail to get a good command going if he tries to force it. So I'll flip through these charts looking for the one I want and keep failing. There it is. Set up with it. I don't think it's terrible for me to take the maneuver command. It costs me 2 more to go to attack if I have to, but I really don't have a lot of points for the French. I only have enough to give... Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's only a 1-point maneuver. Attack's only 1. Yeah, I'm gonna put von Stein in attack so I don't have to pay again. And I'm gonna give Lautrec the maneuver, and that'll combine for 3 points. That saves me a point, but I'm in a lot of trouble with the French if I can't clear a path very shortly. And then that throws us over here. And I basically have no points. Visconti can spend his 1 point to try to grab territory. I don't think that's a good idea, though, because like I said, I don't have enough force to face the Venetians. There's some rule on the Venetians leaving the battle. What about here? De Leyva, Torinello, and now I have to make the hard decision, which is surround Colonna. Do I want to try and give him a force order? Because otherwise, I'm pretty much giving the French free rein to do what they like. If I force an order, I have to make a discipline check against their sensitivity. And what I can do is I can dispatch all the demoralized stuff to someone, to say Adorno. He can't command all that. He can only command 1 unit. Well, this is a problem. Not a big one. Devasto can command the 3 units. But I can't have Devasto command these units and these 3 units, and someone else command the other. The unit which is going to stay behind and actually defend Milan. That becomes problematic. What I can do, however, is I can release Devasto. He's the one who has the troops that are actually effective, and he's only a minor force. So I could give him an attack order without rolling. And that's what we'll do. He's my combat capable stuff anyway. That lets me keep Adorno over here in a position where he's helping to defend. Now I could swap something out, because this is a very tiny force. I could swap out the quality Spaniards just to hold the city. The problem with that is the city becomes too weak. So what about Devasto? Can he handle the French force? Perhaps. It too is larger than he is. Do I really want to spend a point on this? Well, I would like to clear the road at the very least. And an attack order is as good as a move order. I don't want to spend for an attack later. So what I want to do with Devasto is I want to clear this road so I have a slightly better line of communication, so I don't pay these huge costs every time that, you know, for the length of the administrative line of communication. It's going to be ugly no matter what, because it comes from here. So there's nothing too good I can do about it, but I can shorten it. I can also... I don't have enough force to threaten Trevulles. I mean, it's so weird. You just don't have the troops to do what you want to do in this that are active. If Colonna can get himself active. I've got some nice forces, but I don't want to do that. Now, do I want to give Devasto attack, given that... I don't think I do. I don't feel like he really needs an attack order. I think he needs a maneuver order. He's got enough force maybe to defend himself, but I don't really want to launch an attack. All I'm interested in is taking these, and if I give him an attack order, he's going to be stuck with a previous attack order, which makes it hard for him to undertake the attack again, although he has normal troops, which at least have some chance of making a continuing attack. And we have our reinforcement. And I'm going to have to look for special rules again on this scenario. This is a really tough game to get a handle on what's, on all the interactions of things. And that's why you see me flipping through the rules all the time. Like musket and pike, you really have to kind of understand the systems to even barely begin to use them. So for example here with the Swiss, I wasn't sure whether or not they were out of command. After I moved, they could have been in some terrible position where I couldn't issue them orders for money. Von Stein has attack. That's interesting. Okay. So what am I looking up? I'm looking up where Sforza comes in. He's going to come in at Parma. What happens if Parma was filled? I don't know where Parma is. 251. Well, 51 is way down here. And 2 has to be way down here. All right. So there he is coming from the Papal States. And I can't enter that as the other side. Sforza comes in with a decent number of troops. Given what he's set up with, he's got to be a Capitan General, and he is over here. We have 2 with the Imperials. So he can go take command of Visconti and clear up the problem of facing the Venetians. So now I can focus Colonna, if he ever gets off his ass, and the Western Imperial forces against the French. Some cute stuff. Von Stein went up, set a siege on Milan after Del Vasto has left. Trevoul's up against Visconti. Well, actually, first up against Sforza. Started on the march. Now he rolled against him again, and this is important because if Visconti can't get out of admin march, he's got a disadvantage if there's a siege. So this is in the big city of Cremona, but the die roll was such, and this is not the roll, that Trevoul's could get there, but he couldn't. He could get the next activation, but he only could move 2 movement points, which means with no movement points, Visconti's going to activate so that he can get out of admin march, but he can't dig his way in. He doesn't have a very big force, though. He fits in the city, so that's not a big deal. And now we have to decide again, is it worth trying to make the push forward? Did that right? 5? Yeah, that wouldn't be right. I'm trying to figure out what this die roll must have been. It must have been a 4. And that doesn't sound right, but 4 minus 1 would be a minus 3 to get him there. Because anything worse than that, he would have been able to get in. He may still want to roll for him, but he has to roll for him because it's a forced march situation if I want to get in there. The problem, though, is Sforza can not force march into here because he's got maneuver command. So if I get my position there, I've had a chance of taking Cremona, and that's an important location in terms of blocking Sforza. He has to go around them. The Imperials are in a position where they can afford to pass, which means the pro-French side does not get any forced marches. All I get to do is move Lautrec. I get to move him his full movement allowance, which, you know, is a partial bonus here. I might have wanted to force march with Davasso, but at this point, this situation is too important not to move. Let me make it there and get little pro-French markers in these. Doesn't mean much. And what this all means is von Stein is going to launch his assault. This isn't a siege. He could launch a siege, but and he's in position to start one, but he doesn't really feel like he has time. He has to hit Colonna quickly. Colonna's only got one unit, and that's going to disrupt his troops before he goes in. Okay, fair enough. Von Stein gets to operate as an entire unit, so no problem there. And we go into, let's see if we get this right, without looking it up, right? That's the impressive state. It's not affecting terrain. Our strength is 9, 13, 18. His effective strength is 8, 16. So there's not going to be a modifier for that. There's no leader bonus modifier, no weather. The Landsknechts attacking an in-breach attack gives me a -1 to the die roll. This is the problem. And we worry about quality check. Well, our quality has been reduced, so we're even with these. And we'll see if we get it. Oh, that's not going to do. We get a 2 and a disorder. I think these have to combine to the biggest unit they can. And I think these actually combine as well. No, they don't. They don't have one available. Okay, whatever. And this, I'm not quite sure how that all works, but so we take 2 hits and now a disorder check. Our quality is only 2. And this doesn't look like it's going to work very well. Yeah, we pass, but that did not go well. Now, we can only be 1 level of disrupted, and we can spend a couple movement points next turn to remove that. But it doesn't do a whole hell of a lot to do so, because we'll be disrupted again if we storm the castle again. But we're just trying, hoping we can get this, because if we get this to crack, Milan just falls. This might be a waste of troops, though. And I believe we have attrition checks for these guys, too. Yay. There is a line of communication. There would be one no matter what coming out of there. So we're not going to have a problem in terms of the supply situation. So let's see. What's our attrition checks? Doesn't look like we have anything going there. Nobody really considered an interface turn last turn. Might have been a nice option for the anti-French. How big are we? 9, 10, 11, 12, 16. 16, we roll a 4, we're fine. What about our force? Well, it's bigger than it looks. 8, 15, 16, 17, 21. But that's okay too. And that moves us to the next turn. See if anybody wants to spend any command points for anything. I'm a little ill again, but The only thing that really affects is my ability to handle the camera well. We've seen this before where I was coughing and sneezing. I think this isn't as bad, but we'll see. So the situation I'm in right now is an interesting one. I think the French took the rest of yesterday off. Played Thunderstone with my wife. I figured that would be easier to cope with than trying to video. Situation we're in right now is Lautrec is trying to cut his way here. The Swiss are not even besieging Colonna there. And Trevul's is marching down to Cremona. The Imperials have a problem though. They can't activate and expect to do anything. Notably, Colonna is in a position where he can't recover his forces. He may have to move. However, if he tries to move, his forces will disintegrate. If he fails his check, and these are all sensitive units, his forces disintegrate. He made the choice to send Dalvasto off. Dalvasto has better quality units, but he probably doesn't have enough that he can fight the Swiss. He could throw himself into attack, hope his units survive the force command role, and march back in to defend Milano. But I think he's better off grabbing the territories that are up here and preserving that command line. Worst comes to worst, Colonna does not have all of my force in hand. Sforza has a reasonable sized force. Sforza is also a problem. His troops are very sensitive, for most of them, and some of them are normal, but he doesn't have very many of them. And for him, I was thinking again, hey, maybe I try to force him, but those very sensitives are probably going to fall apart. So I'll let Visconti hold Cremona, and I'm going to march around and try to link up with Dalvasto. Sforza's a Capitan General, so he can command Dalvasto, and we can swing into play and maybe start defeating the French allies in detail. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that I have no admin points. It's I'd have to roll to get an activation. So let's see. I think everybody's kind of sticking with their orders as they stand, actually. I wasn't quite expecting, I don't know why, but I picked von Stein as the French activation and Sforza as the Imperial. Sforza won handily and just marched into Cremona here. So a lot of those plans have kind of gone out the window. I don't think Trivulzi can really do much about that force in Cremona. I don't really have any capability to institute a siege against a real force. So I feel like I've slipped into the defensive. Whether or not I might be able to deal with Dalvasto, who's down here, is an interesting question. I've got better quality troops than him. But if I turn and head up that way, then I may be exposing my command line. And this could be troublesome. And I don't have anything I can break off of Trivulzio here because I don't have any minor generals or anything like that. So I can't just like move into Crema and establish a garrison there or something. And I also can't really afford to give this up if Dalvasto takes, well, this is Imperial. So if Dalvasto takes this, this is the last remaining space. And if you haven't guessed this already, I'm really impressed, at least, with sort of the interaction that's going on with the amount of options that you have in terms of like, oh, I could change my orders, but to do so becomes a high risk activation, which could just, my whole force could just fall apart if I try to do that. Wow, that's a real innovation to me. Again, I haven't seen some of the more recent Zucker games, so I don't know if any of that's kind of fitted in from that. For me, I'm just taking it right now as these are Nicola's designs, the things that I haven't seen from Zucker, but I know that he did serve as a consultant on this and some other ES projects. But there's something really brilliant at play here, where and I mainly highlight the things that I find as flaws, but every now and then something strikes me as so clever. So you're sitting there and you can't move, and normally in the old Zucker games you roll an initiative if you don't have the ops points to operate. Hey, that's great. This isn't too different. You roll something, right? Yeah, but the something you roll affects your troops. Your troops are no longer combat ready in the same way at all if you fail that. Now, it may make more sense in this era where you don't have the disciplined standing armies, where, yeah, we're moving out, and the force just kind of says, no, you need to pay us, guys. You had that kind of, up in the Dutch areas, certainly, you had the Spanish army just basically saying, screw that, man. We haven't been paid in 6 months, we're not moving. You get us some money, get us some of our back wages. And that really kind of captures this, the ops points or admin points as money type option, really kind of highlights that position. Anyway, we've gotten some movement. Lautrec moved over here. Tivolzi has run back because he's got to cover two ends. And Del Vasto has captured the territories that he was assigned to. He's still got this to take, and he may not want to engage Tivolzi. And at this point, next turn, Sforza is going to have the choice of, do you come out? Well, if you do, it's making that roll, which may make your force easy pickings, and maybe it's worth it for Tivolzi to make a shot down. But I don't think so when he's threatened from two directions. What we do have, though, is von Stein attempting his attack again. And since I'm on video to show that, I guess we will. Now, we have mud, which maybe means I don't want to actually assault. I can't be forced to because he's in the fortress. Yeah, I don't think I want that extra penalty. I've forgotten to roll for weather, but I did it as soon as, really after he moved, and his movement, he had extra points. He would have been able to make it. So I think that's it, except for attrition, actually, because I don't want to launch that attack there, and I don't think we need to watch the attrition table. It's not that exciting. It's some serious delay of game there. I got kind of sick. I think you could hear it on the thing. And, I probably could have played physically, mentally, etc., except I would have been dripping all over the board, which just, So we'll get started here. We got some good weather clearing again. The Venetians have a problem. They're torn between two forces, either of which maybe they'd be willing to face, but they can't leave this space or else the game could be lost. What about here? We've got the French making a move into here. I don't have an Imperial force. I need an extra force, basically. De Leyva and Torniello are each sitting here. Can I launch something out the back here? Well, I don't have a point. So it would be a forced march if I do. I also only have this one unit protecting Milan. And I don't have leaders down here to replace these guys. Where's Visconti? He's sort of my extra guy covering this space. And in fact, we had an absorption there into Sforza temporarily at the end of last turn. We're going to break him back off with that garrison though. Do we need to? Visconti's 3 strength points. You just take that under Sforza and add him to my unassigned leaders. What I may do is the reason for this is I'm afraid Sforza doesn't have a very powerful force, and Dalvasto has an even weaker force numerically, so I'm afraid one of these might move slowly, and Tavulzio is able to strike one of them and then maybe get back in time. That's a risky move. If the French can get here though, that's fixed. Now, do I want to release any people? Torniello, De Leyva could give up someone. So let us get Visconti and turn him loose. Well, we can do that when we activate Sforza. We don't do that. No, we define forces now. And we're going to send him back to De Leyva and try to cover that. I don't think we have time for that. We should have sent Gonzaga or someone earlier, but that's okay. All right, I guess it's activation time because nobody's actually changing anything. Process of looking up the orders for the unemployed Capitani, which is what I'm doing with Visconti here, and yes, he gets 9 movement points. Let's see, the ferry costs him 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He has to pay for this, and I don't have enough to keep moving. I'm going to put a marker here to remind me that he's moved. He's not going to get another chance to move. He can't force march, actually, which is kind of weird. If he had troops with him, he'd have a chance of moving twice at this stage in the game. But you can't do that with the unemployed, but they get to move pretty fast. But the other thing I noticed was the Capitano General cannot be president of force as an unemployed Capitan, and that was an issue in our major battle that we had. I think Lautrec has dismissed all his troops, and he can't do that, so we'll give him those. The reason for that was because of Navarro's guns. There's not a whole hell of a lot I can do about that right now. But I would have had to deploy him on the field as one of the commanders. And I didn't want to do that because Bayard is a better commander on the field, and Navarro's better with guns, and Lautrec is really not very useful. So I just, passed that up. Meanwhile, Sforza here actually has, looks like 3 movement points to spend. And we're going to start the move north. Now this has put us in an interesting position, but now we can just pass, and Tavulzio could swing down and attack Sforza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or he could shoot up and get close to this, but not close enough to attack it. And he's kind of in this, I can't hit either of them right now. So I think he's just going to push into here. The French managed with Lautrec to get this far. I didn't keep rolling for forced march because I'm going to be able to get this by next turn, which is the important turn, and it's sufficient because this road goes up. If I had to control all the little towns too, it wouldn't be sufficient, but this would also be damn near impossible in that case. All right, I'm going to resolve this. We're going to actually do an assault there. Let me blow my nose and we'll see if I want to put it on Vint. Well, we had the success check for Milan. Basically, I managed a good roll, got a hit. Modifiers were 0. I didn't want to be on camera for long, although the storming a fortress doesn't take long. And I just can't keep my nose from dripping for that long. And we hit this, and then it failed its morale check, which is the big deal. So now it's all units are disordered, and I believe they all surrender at this point. I'll make sure of that, but that's what I think is the case, and that will give Milan our headquarters. And I don't think the Imperials have a Capitano General anymore after that. They have Sforza, but yeah, this deals quite a blow to the Imperial hopes, taking away their central force.